Good morning. Today we're going to talk about proportions. We'll be in Unit 1 for geometry, similarity, congruence, and proofs. We have talked about congruence. We've looked at a few proofs, and moving towards similarity now, we'll be revisiting proofs throughout the rest of this unit. Before we can get started, with similarity, we've got to make sure we understand proportions. So our goal today will just be to solve proportions. Before I want to do any examples, I want to define ratio and proportion. A ratio is a comparison of two numbers, such as in this class, maybe there's 11 boys and 9 girls, so that's an 11 to 9 girl to boy ratio. It's a way to compare two numbers. Or I could think of it as there are 25 students in this classroom and there's 30 desks, so that is a 25 to 30 student to desk ratio. Or I could think of it as teacher to student. So there's 1 to 25. Lots of ways to think about ratios. But the big idea is I'm comparing two numbers. And then proportions is when I have two equal ratios. So if you look down here at my first example, notice this is a ratio. It's two numbers being compared to one another, although one's a variable right now. This is another ratio, 6 to 8. Remember, you can write ratios out as fractions. So notice these two are equal to one another. That makes them a proportion. So you may hear somebody say something is proportional. Well, that's what we're getting to, which you will learn in the next lesson. But 6 over 8, x over 4, two ratios that are equal. We know that because there's an equal sign. Y'all can probably solve that pretty easily in your head because you know 6 over 8. You can divide both of those by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So x is 3. Now one like this, that may not be quite as easy. You may have to work a little bit at this one, but we can multiply and get some of these numbers on the top. Let's see, we'd say times 13 on both sides. Now we'd have 26 over x equals 4. And then we can multiply by x on both sides. And we get 26 equals 4x. And then we can divide by 4. And x would be 13 over 2. And remember, multiplying by the denominators so that I don't have a denominator any longer. I'm trying to get rid of that fraction. Let's look down here and let's do the same thing. So let's multiply by 5 on both sides. So that's going to be 5 times x plus 45. Remember, you have to distribute that 5 to both of them. And then we're going to do times 14. And we're going to distribute that 14 to both of them. So you get 14x minus, 14 times 5. 70. Now let's put our like terms together. So let's take this over here. Let's take this over here. Should have gone the other direction so I'd have positives, but that's okay. Negative 14x and 5 would make negative 9x. Negative 70 and negative 45 would make negative 115 divided by negative 9. And we can simplify that a little bit. Our negatives will cancel out, and then I'm left with being able to divide by nothing. I'm going to have to stop right there, actually. 115 over 9 is the best I can do. That's okay to leave it as a fraction, though. So sometimes it works out really easily. Sometimes it's pretty easy. Other times it's a little bit tricky, but big thing is remember to multiply by your denominators, and you'll be just fine.